Hello, everyone, and welcome to another excited episode on the show. You guys know I only bring about the best of guests to my show, and today we have a very special guest with us today. Today's guest is Megan Lynch. Megan, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for having me.
All right, Megan, I would like you to introduce yourself to my audience.
Absolutely. My name is Megan, and for the last 10 years, I've been a novelist. I started writing a trilogy, dystopian. Well, it started out as a single book, and I just found that I really loved it. And I never thought I had the discipline to finish, but when I actually did, I thought, wow, this is a career I can really get behind and really get excited about. So I sold my first book. They offered me a contract for two more books. And so I wrote those two more. And then I wrote a middle grade horror story. And now I'm about to publish my first novel for adult audiences. And it's called Hymn for the Forsaken.
All right, thank you so much, Megan. Thank you for that wonderful introduction, and welcome to Hidden Secrets in Books.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's get into the questions I have here for you. All right, so what first inspired you to become a storyteller?
Great question. I've been writing forever, my whole life. I loved, just like playing as a child. I like couldn't get enough of Barbies and also just like playing make believe, with my friends. I had a really idyllic childhood. So I got like a whole big wooded backyard to play in, and then that backed up, to an actual forest. So I had a really good time when I was, a child, just like pretending to be all kinds of things. And that sort of naturally lent itself to writing down the stories that I was acting out. And it wasn't until I was an adult and I was teaching in an inner city school, and I was experiencing all kinds of things that I hadn't grown up with, and that just made me really sad. I had students experiencing homelessness, lots, just a lot. They had dealt with a lot in their little lives, and they were only 5 years old. They were all in kindergarten, and um, I just everyone kind of deals with that in different ways. I think when they first encounter it, either as a child or as an adult. And as an adult, I had a lot of feelings of anger toward society at large and these systems that, I was just beginning to understand more deeply. And that anger has to go somewhere, So for me, I opened up a document and I just started writing a story. And it became a dystopian story. And, I don't know how I finished it, but somehow I finished it. And I was like, wow, this is 45,000 words or something. Like, it's novel length. Like, maybe I could revise it and then actually like put this somewhere, so it doesn't just live on my hard drive. And that's what started it.
Thank you so much for that wonderful answer, Megan. So, what can readers expect from him for the Forsaken?
It's an Appalachian Gothic story. I'm really interested in American Gothic. So, meaning like horror, right? There are elements of the grotesque, there are elements of just like hauntings, So, in American Gothic, we really look at the historical underpinnings of a place, what has happened there. Um, in the United States, you can sort of bet on the fact that whatever has happened there is not pretty. That's just the reality that we live in. I know a lot of people try to revise that and say like, oh no, it was always, so good, and the colonists were so brave. And I mean, like, it may be true that people were brave, but it is also true that many people lost their homes or had their homes stolen from them. It is also true that immigrants were exploited in these places. It is also true that people, for example, escaping slavery, had a lot to a lot to deal with when they were running away, and so all of these things happened in these places. And in American Gothic, we say that that didn't simply disappear, when the people died. Um, these historical horrors persist in these places, and American Gothic is a genre that really takes a hard look at the ripple effect of what has happened. And so that's what Hymn for the Forsaken is about too. Um, and so we explore the historical horrors of the state of West Virginia, and we see it really through the eyes of a modern young woman. Um, Spooky things happen, right? So it's a ghost story. Um, and she has to reach down deep within and find her courage. So that is what the book is about.
Thank you so much. Uh, what was your writing process like while creating this novel?
Yeah. Well, every novel is different. I have to find new ways of doing things every single time. And I have a lot of children. And for this book, when I was writing it, I had 4 children in the house. Um, and one was a baby. So the time that I had was really before 7 a.m. For this novel, I got up very, very early in the morning and just wrote as much as I could, right? I was also in an MFA program at the time, a low residency. So I was working with an advisor, Anne Ursu, and she would read my pages and then tell me, okay, this is good, but it might be so much better if you rewrote the whole thing and tried this instead. And of course, she was right. And so I ended up rewriting most of it as I was drafting it. So I would, write 3 chapters and then get my notes and then rewrite those 3 chapters and then also draft chapters 4, 5, and 6, and then get the notes and redraft those and then draft the next 3 chapters. And so it was a lot of work, and it was a lot of like stick like just it felt like circular, right? Like I kept having to like circle back and circle back. But in the end, it really worked out. It was a good process. And I'm really, really glad that I decided to work on that project for the MFA, and it became my creative thesis. And I'm really proud of it. I was proud of it when it was finished, and I'm proud of it now.
All right, thank you so much. So moving on, uh, my next question for you is: after publishing several novels, what still surprises you about writing?
Mm. Well, I think the reason I stick with it is because I'm a person who gets bored a lot, and writing is never boring. Not even when you have like a template, a beat sheet, certain like an outline to follow. It's still never boring. That the process of sitting down and writing out the story, there's always there's always these impulses that you get that will surprise you. It's after a while, it seems like the characters are talking to you instead of you making them talk. And sometimes they come up with the darndest things, and you're like, all right, I'll record this. But it does sort of surprise me. So, yeah, I think it's like when you write like I write, um, and you don't have a lot of time, right? But you sit down and you're committed to getting the story down. Um, Sometimes the story kind of takes on a life of its own, and sometimes, I mean, most of the time it's delightful. Sometimes it's annoying because you say like, actually, I needed you to say this other thing, but like writing down that you said this other thing feels like such a lie that I have to go with, what you want to say, even though it takes the story in a completely new direction. But yeah, I am still mostly delighted by all the surprises that it presents. Hello?
All right, thank you so much. So, moving on, my next question for you is this: what advice would you give someone who dreams of writing their first book?
Just do it. Just do it. Like, don't wait until you're ready. Don't wait until you have the education you feel you want or the time you feel you want. Just sit down and start writing. It's a very unique and uniquely special form of art in that like you don't really need a lot of special equipment. You don't need permission. You don't need to audition. You just need the will. And so if you can gather up the will and begin, then you're halfway there.
All right, so is there a favorite scene in Him for the Forsaken that stands out to you, and why?
Yeah, I think when I was writing it, I thought it probably wouldn't make it into the final draft, but I felt like it was important to write anyway. There's a scene where the three girls in the book, I suppose I should say young women in the book, come up with their own sort of like kind of like a sorority initiation ceremony, right? So they're wearing white robes, they're in a basement, candles are lit, they're barefoot, and they've got a Ouija board right between them. Um, and they do sort of like a blood sisters ritual, and then they come up with a game, sort of like truth or dare, but it's only truth, and they have to answer the question like, what is it you want? Right. And so any writer listening to this now would be like, okay, like that's actually a really helpful uh, character sketch because, it's like this very evocative sort of scene, very intimate, but also like the characters get to like tell you directly what motivates them. So I thought like this is just for me. But it actually did end up making it to the final draft and it's in the book. But each girl talks about what she wants. One wants fame, one wants money, and one wants power. And all three of these, if they, if you happen to get them for the right reasons, of course, they're not bad things to have. But um, you can see how, striving for these things alone in and of themselves would present some problems, and they do. And I just thought it was really interesting when I was writing that scene that it came out so clearly that way, and I hope the girls' actions match their motives. Um, and yeah, so I really love that scene, and I'm happy that it's in there.
All right, thank you so much, Megan. So, is there something in your book that you hope readers will take away that you feel like they might miss?
I hope what they take away is that even when you feel small and insignificant, which, okay, let's face it, most of us are, it doesn't mean you're powerless. You still have agency, um, especially when you are open and honest with others about your desires. You can still make a lot of things happen, even though you're only human.
All right, so what piece of literature do you think? Okay, What role do you believe literature plays in society, and how does Hymn for the Forsaken contribute to that conversation?
Yeah, well, literature is incredibly important. It's life-changing. I remember hearing a story, and I'm not sure if it's true, but I've heard the story enough where, like, maybe it is. When Abraham Lincoln met Harriet Beecher Stowe, who wrote Uncle Tom's Cabin, he shook her hand and said, "So this is the little lady that started this great war." I think books can absolutely do stuff like that. Books can absolutely stir something within us that like changes the way we see things and changes the choices that we make, the way we live. It's very, very powerful. I'm hoping that when people read Him for the Forsaken, they're a little bit more educated about the state of Appalachia and poverty there. Um, I'm hoping that they see exploitation for what it is, and maybe even the ways that they have exploited others. Um, I hope I hope that begins an uncomfortable conversation, maybe in yourself, and um, and that's okay. Like we don't have to be afraid of discomfort. We really can um, face it head on, and sometimes it's helpful to see mistakes that others have made in order to confront our own mistakes. So yeah, I'm hoping they take away that, and I'm hoping again they take away that the fact that they have power in this life, that when you see something that you don't like, you don't have to always just live with it. Sometimes you really can change it.
All right, so here is my final question for you. So, how can listeners be able to know more about you and be able to get your book as well?
Sure, thanks for asking. My website is www.authormeganlynch.com, and I would love if you would sign up for updates so I can just kind of take you along and let you follow the journey and give you some updates. And I'm on Instagram and Threads at Megan Lynch Books. And then you can pre-order the book, Hymn for the Forsaken, wherever you like to buy books. Just Barnes & Noble or your local indie or bookshop.org or Books A Million, or I think just anywhere you want.
All right, Megan, I just want to say thank you so much for coming to my show. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, your ideas, and your perspective with me and my audience. It's really an honor to have you here. Today's conversation reminds us that great stories don't just entertain, they help us better understand ourselves and the world around us. Megan Lynch's work challenges readers to think deeply about identity, belonging, and the forces shaping our future. Once again, Megan, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Dominic. I really appreciate the conversation and the thoughtful questions.